So I messed up pretty big on something. On March 25th of this year, I became what I thought was enlightened. And for the most part, it was true because it is now toward the ending of April and I haven't experienced any suffering since March 25th. And normally, a sign of being enlightened is you don't suffer anymore. Now, it's a little bit early to tell because it's only been a month, so of course, something might come up that could cause suffering, but it's still nice to know that I've gone over a month without suffering. However, I haven't really been enlightened enough to be considered enlightened in one very important aspect. And that is, I've still been very attached to my ego in certain ways that I should have known better about. They were very obvious to me. I should have known better. I kind of knew I was attached to my ego, but I just I I repackaged it. Instead of saying, "Oh, I'm attached to my ego," I repackaged it as saying, "Oh, I'm just having fun in my life. I'm just having fun. I'm just having fun with my personality. It's all good fun." But the truth is, it wasn't just about having fun. It was also me having a lot of pride and disobeying God by being prideful. So, and then another thing about becoming enlightened is sometimes you can become enlightened, but then one moment you're enlightened, and then the next moment you get trapped in your character. You fall in love with the character that you are because each and every one of us were a character in God's master plan. And if you're enlightened, you acknowledge the character, you play the character, but you're not supposed to fall in love with the character and become more entrenched in the ego of the character. And the moment you do that, even if you were once enlightened, you temporarily become not enlightened. And it's wonderful that I haven't experienced any suffering in over a month because God knows I've experienced a lot of suffering before the last month. But I mean, it's not just about being enlightened. That has nothing to do with anything. If anything, me saying, "Oh, well, I'm enlightened this, enlightened that," that's just another excuse for me to be prideful. I'm not trying to be prideful here or narcissistic. The biggest mistake I made isn't necessarily to myself, where I did myself a disservice, because technically speaking, I didn't get hurt from this because I didn't experience any suffering. I could have experienced suffering, but luckily I didn't experience suffering. It could have caused suffering, but it didn't. But I did God a great disservice because in some of my other videos, I called myself God's grandson. And who am I to call myself God's grandson if I'm going to be running around being prideful all the time? That's just not right. And speaking of which, this is going to be the last video I make where I even reference being God's grandson, because there's just no way to say that phrase and be completely humble at the same time. I hate the word humble. I shouldn't say the word humble. There's a long story why I don't like the word humble. So let's just say humility. I can't have humility without avoiding that phrase whatsoever, because quite frankly, it's completely irrelevant whether I'm God's grandson or not. I'm just like everybody else, and we all have a part to play in God's plan, and we're all lovely human beings. So I need to stop pretending, even if I'm just making a video, or even if part of me is not being prideful. There's always going to be a part of me that is prideful, because that's why Jesus Christ is so amazing. Jesus Christ somehow managed to not be prideful, even though he was the Son of God. I don't know how he did it. Jesus Christ really is the King of Kings. He's really incredible. And I have a theory. That Jesus Christ is actually here on earth right now. I think the second coming already happened, but he's just hiding in plain sight because his ego is so low. He doesn't just have a low ego, he has no ego. He has no ego, so no one can actually find him because he's not announcing himself to anybody. And he's going to look completely different. he's going to look completely different from how he looks in the depictions of him, because either one, Jesus Christ's perfect body since his resurrection is completely different from his original body. That's the first possibility. Or the second possibility, his resurrected body is similar to his original body, but his original body is different than the depictions anyway because he was in the Middle East. So no matter what, Jesus Christ is not going to be recognizable, and he's not going to announce himself. So I think maybe at the right time people will be able to recognize them themselves at the right times when it matters. But yeah, I don't think Jesus Christ is going to be going around announcing himself because he has no ego. He doesn't need the pride. He doesn't have pride. He's the perfect human being. So that was a very long rant about Jesus Christ, but the main moral of the story is I recognized that I was sinning, that I was being prideful when I shouldn't have been prideful, and I am going to be repenting for my ways. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.